Well, this is Sean here with a video. I'm at Sherburne in Richmond, as you can see by the traffic here. It's about 9 Celsius today. It's a warm day for late February. A lot of traffic on Sunday. This is a long weekend, as you can tell. But my story basically starts in 1984 when I was arrested at Creighton Street in Halifax, Nova Scotia. What happened? Look at this sign here. This is property courtyard. No trespassing allowed. Trespassing is criminal offense. Well, nobody's around today, so I'll film this video. But anyways, it all started in 1984 when I was arrested, and this is where I got my criminal record in 1984. It was in July of 1984. I was doing a job for a Sri Lankan guy, and the guy in charge was a guy named Don Johnson. So basically what happened was that I was doing an exterior painting job for Don Johnson, and I wasn't getting paid for the job. So I was working with a black guy named Lloyd Farrell at the time, and so basically, you know, after a couple of weeks we got no pay for the job, and one night in July we got very frustrated. Now you got to remember, the building had no doors on it, and it was like an abandoned building. They were still doing interior renovations in the building, and there was pink fiberglass insulation in the building. So what happened on that day in July of 1984 was that since we didn't get paid for the job we did that July, me and Lloyd Farrell went in, stole some fiberglass insulation, sold it to a guy up the street, got around $40 for the 2 fiberglass pink bundles. Anyways, the cops were called in, and this was in Halifax on Creighton Street. I was originally at the time living in Lower Sackville. So the cops were called in, and they arrested us that night, put us in handcuffs, and we spent the weekend in jail. So after spending the weekend in jail, we basically went to court on a Monday. We were given legal aid representation, and with the legal aid representation, our lawyer told us to not go before this judge. So we didn't go before this judge. It was remanded or whatever, and then we went for a judge. Well, I ended up on that whole deal getting 2 years probation from the judge. So the lawyer did a good job, and I believe my co-accused, got 2 months also. Not a real big deal, but where the story is going is that it's how I got a criminal record when I didn't want to. I was just trying to do some work, get some pay, and a guy rips me off. Ended up, at the time I was very young, I got frustrated, and I what can I say? You know, I did this crime. It's kind of funny though, it was brought up 20 years later in court, 20 years later in court it was brought up, and it's still on the record because CPIC has all your criminal activity. If you committed a crime or you have a record, it's all on CPIC through Canada, so it's well known. But basically what I wanted to say about this whole incident was that it's kind of funny. It was so long ago. The attorney, the legal aid attorney, is probably retired by now. The judge is probably dead by now. My co-accused is probably collecting Canada pension, so that's how long ago it was. And then, you know, my nightmare happened when I arrived in Toronto, and I had that narcissist of an owner, Mr. Bernie Tishman, who basically was not a good man. You know, he really didn't care for the concern of his tenants or the well-being of his tenants. Just a quick story about him. One day there was the maid that was working there one day. Her brother was in. Apparently her cell phone was stolen. That's the story. So her brother got involved, and they were both in the office one day, and I said, I made the comment to Bernie Tishman, and he heard it. I said, if you're stabbed, you're on your own. You got to take it like a man. Bernie Tishman got kind of offended by that statement, And he said, no, it's not like that. And you know, he's a narcissist. He really never cared for the well-being of his tenants. No security. There wasn't enough staff on site. So he basically was the type of guy that, you know, his agenda was probably just to take the money, do the bare minimum, and then forget about it. And it's unfortunate that it had to be like that with him. And you know, I lost a lot. I mean, unfortunately, there was a corrupt cop who got transferred out of 51 Division down into 14 AK, and he was responsible for breaking into my room for no reason whatsoever. And this kind of string of bad luck, because Bernie Tishman probably told him to. And it's unfortunate that it came to this. And you know, when I hear of all these sad stories, you know, the whole thing you must do is you must rebuild. You must rebuild and try again. That's all I can say. And wow, it's warm out today. And all I have to say is that like everybody else, there's always obstacles in the way, and you've got to make the best you can. But that's a brief synopsis of what I had to go through. And unfortunately, at this stage of the game, I have parents who are seniors right now, and they're getting very old. And you know, I have to make the decisions. And the funny note is this: that Daniel J. Towsey may be coming to Toronto. This should be very interesting. Can't wait. Bye.